everyone. Welcome to Shannon Confidential. Look down below. See the subscribe button? Go ahead and click it for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Welcome to Shannon Confidential. I am Shannon, your host, and Shannon Confidential is a podcast about life, love, and everything in between. And today's in between is stress. We have so much of it. We need to get rid of it. And I know that the exact person for you is Brett Cotter, which stress is gone. Now, let me tell you, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's an author, a writer. He has an app, the things that he does for veterans. And get this, we can get rid of our stress in 60 seconds. With skills we already have. He's going to explain it all to us, and I am not going to delay anymore because I don't want to stress you out. But here he comes, Brett Cotter with Stress is Gone. All right, I told you he's here, Brett Cotter with Stress is Gone. Now that is something we all want to hear. He's got so much to tell us, so much is his training. I'm telling you, this man has so much experience and what he's done, his journey, what brought him here, his website he designed, the app that he put together, what the work with veterans. I'm telling you, it's incredible what he can do. And I can't wait to learn what he can do for us in 60 seconds. But I am not going to keep talking, Brett. You go for it. Tell us your journey. What do you do? What got you here?
First, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be on with you. Real pleasure. So my journey started, how far do you want to go back? So I'm just a guy from Queens, born and raised in Bayside, Queens, grew up with my mom and my younger brother, John, in a single parent household. And, she raised us through the 80s and 90s. A little bit in the 70s. I don't want to date myself too bad, but so my parents got divorced when I was very young, when I was 6, right? And it was a very, very, very tough divorce, very tough on me. I was the oldest child, and I felt really lost and really distraught. And my father had come back from Vietnam, right, a few years prior, and had become a New York City firefighter. So
that was a firefighter.
Really?
Yes, for Pompano,
Where?
Florida.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. Something we have in common. No, that's great. Yeah, please, if anything else pops up that we have in common, please throw it in.
Absolutely.
And so when he got back from, the Vietnam War, there was a lot of trauma, that he went through. He was a Marine, an M60 gunner. And when he came back and he got into the fire department, he was in there in the late 70s and early 80s. And a lot of guys got sucked up into this whole partying, and he got sucked into the life of partying, drugs, alcohol abuse as an outlet for his PTSD, right? Okay. So as an adult, he, and as we connected later on in life before he had passed, he had said, Brett, the absurd helped me deal with the absurd. Right. So all the things that he went through, it was like that, the absurdness of all the craziness and the partying was like his outlet. So long story short, he couldn't be there. And there was a number of years when I was very young, from like 6 to 9, where he wasn't able to show up for his visitations. And I was just on the front stoop waiting for him, crying, like all weekend, just looking at cars go by, thinking it was him. And, that's where my pain started. Right. So I feel like my journey I have to share with you my pain. Right. And
that was pain. Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that will be able to relate to this, and I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah, no, well, you know what? It was actually a beautiful gift, because the work that I do, I found that the depths and the darkness of the pain is exactly the amount of light that comes in to transform it all. So it actually ended up being a life-saving, beautiful gift, because it called in a lot of light during my journey to transform it all. So to fast forward, a few years, after that, in my teens, getting into trouble, had anger issues, that sadness had transformed into anger.
Because it's going to come out of you now.
Yes. Now it needs an outlet. right? Now I'm getting out there, getting into trouble in my teenage years, and now anger is present, right? And then when it came to relating to women with my relationships, I was very jealous, right? Because I always thought love was going to leave, right?
Ooh, yeah. Well, that's
So
heavy on you.
right. So now let's fast forward to I'm about 27 and I'm in California. I'm in another relationship. Have everything I could ever thought I ever wanted. The high paying job, the girlfriend I thought I wanted, the car, the dog, everything, the place, to live, just everything. But I felt something was off. Something just wasn't, something was missing because I had everything I ever thought I wanted, but I didn't feel complete. So the other thing I still had going on was this jealousy thing. It wasn't as bad as it was when I was in my, teens and early 20s, but it was still there. And it always was like these big teeth in my relationships with women that would just chase the ones away that I loved, right? So I decided after being in California for about, 2 years at this point to get into meditation. And then right from there, things just opened up fast where I got referred to a healer. And the second I sat down with this guy literally within minutes, images from when I was 5 and 6 surfaced out of my stomach, heart, my bones. This cellular memory of where my anger and jealousy started popped right up before my eyes like I was watching it on a movie screen, which was
I could
amazing.
see it. I could see it as you're talking about it. Like I could
Yeah,
see what you were probably going through.
it
Ooh,
was it was amazing. So, and just to fill in a little bit of the blanks of the visual, the image that came up in the memory, the cellular memory that popped up out of my subconscious and unconscious mind to right where I could see it was when I was about 5 years old. We were in our new house. My father and mother were arguing, and I was just sitting there on the carpet looking up at them argue like a sponge. Like, little kids are sponges. 5-year-old kids are just sponging. They don't know what's good or bad. They're just sponging it all in. And the crazy thing was, I was doing everything that my father was doing in all my arguments. And my mom was like the archetype of all my past relationships and how we would argue, right? It was like the perfect diagram of how it happens. And I was like, holy cow, this is like amazing. Because like I'm at the source of it. I'm at the seed of where all this stuff spawned from. So after that came up, layers of tension, emotion unlocked and released from my body. The whole session was like an hour and a half. And from that point on, I've never been the same.
I have to
If I,
imagine that had to have been exhausting. An hour and a half of dealing with all of that lost and recovered emotion and anger and sadness. Hour and a half later, you've been like, oh,
well, that's a great point, how I felt. And I'll share with you how I felt. So in the beginning, when the emotions and the memory starts unlocking and releasing, it's a little bit scary because you never really felt all these feelings come up in this way. And shortly thereafter, that's like the first quarter of the session. Then it was about calling in light and unconditional love to actually go underneath all the emotions and refill all that space and literally layer by layer of old tension and emotion just unlock and release from the body. And when that happened, I just felt my mind clearing. So it's almost like a lot of these subconscious gears of how I behaved in the environment were just kind of like the shaft tilted and just the gearing started to fall off and disappear. And then my mind was much more clear. So it was an amazing, truly life-changing experience. Now, when I had that experience, I was like totally blown away. It's like watching Star
what just
Wars for the
happened?
first time, right? Yeah, like what just happened? Like, so, but then I decided I'm not going to be afraid of it. I'm actually going to walk towards this mystery of what just happened to me.
Okay.
So since that day, I've been, walking towards it, trying to understand the energy, trying to understand the process better and better so I could facilitate the energy better and better. So things happened very quickly for me after that. I learned from a few other teachers. And then, weird things started happening. So I was in this healing group where people would line up in Marina Del Rey in California, where we would practice. It was about 12 of us. We were doing our different healing modalities, and people would come into this park, and then we would just do sessions with them all day long on the weekends, just so we would get better at our craft. And I don't even know how word got out. I don't know who advertised it, but people were just coming and It was an
People
amazing,
needed it. That's what happened.
yeah, they did. And it was amazing the work that was getting done. But so the leader of the group stopped coming, and then the people there wanted me to do it. So then I did it. So then I started getting into positions where I was leading groups very shortly after I got into this whole thing, right? So it all kind of happened quick, from going from a guy that was like trying to find my own healing to all of a sudden now I'm working with other people one-on-one. Now all of a sudden I'm in groups, right?
Yeah,
That happened
listen,
really
if I could
fast.
just interrupt real quick, I
Sure.
understand you're healing one-on-one. They're bringing up, you know, clearing you, of all of your past pain. I see how you could do that one-on-one. Now you are now doing it for groups. How do you how do you do that for a group? Because that's so personal.
It's there's a lot of trust involved. The rules have to be clear within the dynamics of the group. So my job is to manage the dynamics of the group, right? Now what happens is the opening part of the process in a group, I guide folks through a few exercises, and then it starts bringing up core issues. So now let's say there's 10 people in a group. Let's say, Sally over here, all of a sudden the exercise is bringing up a lot of feelings, a lot of sadness, a lot of pain. So then I identify with her where it's coming from and what part of her body the tension's in and the emotions in. Excuse me. So as she's expressing that, anyone else in the group that has a similar issue with similar feelings or similar tension in that part of their body, it starts coming up like a volcano out of them. So it starts popping like popcorn.
Which has to be,
Yes,
for someone that's trying to work with everybody, that's got to be the magical moment, but it's also got to be really difficult.
it's the the challenge as the facilitator of the work is to not let any of your own ideas seep into the moment, right? So what I'm doing is constantly keeping my personality at bay. And then I'm just going and listening. I'm just really listening to my own guidance. Sometimes the guidance comes through in words, clear words, and I just let them come right out of my mouth. Sometimes the guidance is in images of the next exercise that we're going to do.
Okay.
So often in these group workshops, retreats, things are happening that I've never seen before and never planned for. So I'm just kind of like going along with the roller coaster ride, but making sure everyone's safe along the way. So yeah, that's kind of like
Pretty incredible.
the vibe of what happens. And last summer at Omega, this whole process was really, it was like being in a frying pan. Like it was amazing for a week straight. Just like that session that I had with that initial healer that I talked about, where it's unlocking and releasing the core childhood trauma. This was for a week straight, 5 days straight, of the group. And it was 12 of us, and it was amazing. The transformation. So by Wednesday afternoon, we had turned the corner from, like, the whole entire group had turned the corner from getting the bulk of the trauma up and out of our body, our hearts, our minds, our psyche, their spirit, everything. And Thursday morning rolled in, and literally folks were playing music, and it was like a dance party. And in the back of my head, I'm like, oh,
That's incredible.
it was nuts. I have some pictures from it. I was gonna send you the
Oh,
pictures,
please
but
do.
so there's Thursday morning, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh shoot, we have 2 more days to go. Like, what are we gonna do now? So then we reevaluated our goals. So in the beginning of the week, like right when we started, it was like, what do you want to get out of this? And it was like, I want to let go of the pain from this, the anxiety from that. So by Thursday morning, that was done. Now we have 2 full days left. So we reevaluated, and it was like, okay, now that that's handled, what do you really want? And then it was like next level stuff, like, attracting a compatible soulmate, taking the career to the next level, working on other family relationships, what I mean? Like things like that, like next
Well, I
level
can
kind of
imagine
stuff.
those are all the things that you haven't been able to do because of everything you're keeping down that's just debilitated you. Now that you've gotten
Yeah.
rid of every speed bump, the door's open to get back to better, happy work, family,
Yeah.
relationships. All that comes much more clear, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea of stress is gone. Now, because we're alive on this planet, stress never really goes away. But when you learn how to unlock and release your own stress, And then you get rid of like those, no, I wouldn't say get rid of, when you open up an immense amount of unconditional self-love to all your past pain, all that stuff that wasn't unconditional self-love just kind of like dissipates and disappears. Now I personally feel life really starts and begins. Now, like, you could start living and enjoying and relating and engaging. So yeah.
I wrote down so I wouldn't forget. You said Omega. Is Omega a conference? Is it a location?
Yeah, so Omega is one of the most, well-respected wellness retreat centers in the Northeast. And it's world-renowned teachers, healers have been going there for decades. And ever since I got into this, it was a milestone goal of mine. And then it, happened last summer, for the first time. And they just rebooked me for May, the end of May, for another week-long retreat. And I'm doing a virtual teachers retreat March 30th. It's a workshop. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. So I'm excited about that.
Make sure all your dates, the links to all of this, get this to me after, so everybody listening can, follow you, go understand what you're talking about, because that's just sounds, I tell you, and I don't want to interrupt you, but I've spoken to so many people. I have friends that have done retreats and have healers or guides, they refer to them as different terms, and they all swear by it. They all come back different people. And I kind of want to do this. I want to feel this.
Yeah. And
it just makes it sound like so much better once it's gone.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, it's like a spring of wellness coming out of the ground, because it comes out of like the deepest part of yourself. So imagine, like, okay, we have our body here, we have our mind here, kind of like helping us, navigate through the environment. But what's fueling it all? It's your spirit that's coming into this existence and kind of like fuels the whole show. So when the unconditional love and the energy, the healing energy, comes through your spirit and opens up from deep within your cells, you own it, because it's coming from deep within. And then I feel like the meditations that we bring into the retreat and this work is like the icing on the cake, because that's really where you get to go into the subconscious mind and really connect and clear, out. Yeah. And it's just really, dear to me. I teach the meditation class 3 times a week at 9 a.m. every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that's on Zoom. Anyone could access that on the our Facebook group, Release Stress Now with Brett Cotter. So the links are all on there, and I can send you the Zoom link too. You can share that with your audience.
Anything you mention, people are going to be researching. Let's make it easy for them. Yeah,
awesome.
Okay, so your journey to get where you haven't even gone into, what you're doing now. This path that you have been on it's remarkable for you, and how you've brought that forward to the different things you've implemented and done with this knowledge. Please do tell.
So from the first session that I had, I always knew that I was meant to do this, right? And that was in 1999. And I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know, what it was going to be like. I knew what the end result looked like. You know what I mean? I'm like, how do I get there? So over the years, I've been, bobbling my way through this, trying to figure it out. At the end of the day, I'm just a meditation teacher, and I do have a gift for helping people let go of like those deep emotional, pains, and helping people transform that, and guiding them to where that is, and then kind of like helping them transform that from deep within. And then they own it and they get to do whatever they want. But, dialing it back. So the first website I ever had was called Tharada, right? That was my first thing that I ever created, like as like a platform to communicate what I do. And it was, a little site that I would post my lessons from meditation, and then people could book, sessions with me over the phone and stuff. So, and that stood for the Human Evolution Research and Development Association, right? And then it's funny, then
like therapy,
it was an acronym. You'll find I love acronyms. So it was an acronym. And but then there's an ancient form of Buddhism called Theravada Vista or something like that. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's cool, because it's like the first part of the name of the company. Yeah. So anyway, I ended up shutting that down a few years, maybe 3 years later, when I moved back to New York. And then a few years after that, I kind of came up with the name Stress is Gone, because I wanted to create something that was very easy to digest, very, you just look at it and you're like, yeah, I want that.
I want that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
when I said the name, the first time I'm like, wow, that sounds cool. By the third time I said it, I felt it in my body. You know what I mean? Like I felt expansion. So I'm like, all right, that's the name. And then that became my platform. So I created a website there to talk to companies. I did a lot of like classes in companies. Taught a lot in high schools, elementary schools, middle schools, some military bases, different environments, yoga centers, churches, all different, places, a few universities and health centers, hospitals, places like that.
Pretty much
Just
everywhere.
anyone that would let me in.
Anywhere and everywhere. So
It was all
I
different
want it.
environments. Yeah, and it was just I would go in and teach these classes, and then it was great. It was awesome. And then I wrote. Now I'm getting closer to like 2013. I started seeing like a lot of news coverage about like the veterans that weren't getting the care they deserved. On like waiting lists for like 6 months to get surgeries. People are dying on waiting lists, and it's like really pissed me off. And I have like 5 relatives that served in different branches of the military, all in different conflicts, different eras, and
Thank your family
got
for
into.
the service.
Thank you, and so I'm like, what do I do? At that point, I had about 14 years of stress relief experience. I came up with some interesting, techniques and tools, and I knew the stuff worked. So I decided to craft everything into an app called PTSD Free, right? To pack it all in. So it helps the person set up their meditation practice, and it helps them meditate. It helps them bring them through the therapy session of like the resolve part of the app. So there's a little tab called resolve, and it actually shows you which memories are the original traumatic memories. And then it guides you through 2 exercises to unlock and release all the tension from those memories so that you're much less triggered in the environment. And then it teaches you stress stopper breath work, which is the way to stop stress in 60 seconds or less. So it was an awesome app, have everything packed in there. And that was like the first, really all-inclusive app that I, put out there. And
is this something that you can go to the App Store and find?
Yeah. So PTSD Free is still on the App Store, and it's on the Android marketplace. So yeah, it's still out there. Has a good number of downloads. People, use it. They like it. The feedback, when I was using the feedback form, it was amazing. It was like 88% of the people that downloaded and used the stopper tab and the resolve tab had a dramatic decrease in the frequency and intensity of their stress reactions within the first week of using the app. So, and again, I'm not a researcher, so I don't spend my time doing that.
You just do what you do. I can tell you when we get done, I'm going to go get that app. It's going to be on my phone.
Yeah. So that's the one for like military veterans and stuff like that. Then I have another app called the Stress is Gone app. So Stress is Gone app is basically the same functionality. And it's not talking to PTSD folks, and it's not talking to first responders or veterans. It's really just, written for, your typical everyday person. It could be, a high school student, could be a doctor, a nurse, or it could be, a veteran, it could be a police officer. It's written for anybody.
It's all inclusive.
Yes. Yeah. So there's no, target markets for anybody, but that's the Stress is Gone app. That's also on the Android, marketplace, and on the iTunes App Store. Yeah.
So now I just want to like, that's your over story, but there's so many details in what goes into Stress is Gone. Just the way you handle it, your mission, your research. Tell everybody about that, because and then I'm going to have some questions, I promise you.
Sure. So I'm still, like I said, bobbling my way through it, with like, how to present it online, how to, get it to a point where it has brand recognition, right? My goal is to have Stress is Gone, to be a recognizable brand and the gold standard of real deep stress relief, right? And not that everybody has to use it, but I want everyone to know that it exists. So in those times in their life where you feel like there's just dark clouds over you and the thunder and the rain's coming down and the hail's coming down, stress is gone is there at the press of a button, and you could unlock and release all that tension and anxiety and stress from the inside out. And you have the power to do that. That's the gift that I want to share. So right now, the brettcotter.com website is my coaching website. So you could go on there, read about the coaching program, and purchase a session to do within 2 days, right? The sessions are anywhere between a half hour and an hour, and we cover a lot of ground. Within the first 3 minutes, often we surface the original traumatic memory. And I find like the people that come to me are ready to let go, and it just happens really fast.
Yeah. Sometimes if sometimes I don't know if it's, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, do people not let go because they're not ready? They're afraid, they're embarrassed. They don't want to deal with it, but they're trying. Is there like that little, or do people come to you and be like, that's it, I'm done, I need help?
I think there's a subconscious protection where they don't believe that they could actually deal with the original trauma because it's too painful, and they just have to have this layer of, I can't let it go. Some people identify with the pain, especially around, the pain of losing a loved one, which is, the most heartbreaking stuff ever. But some folks identify with that pain in their way to hold on. So when my father passed, it took me about 6 months. I changed some of my techniques to adjust to a person that has lost a loved one, and I'm always my own guinea pig. So I used the techniques, and I found something that was amazing, and it helps your heart and your mind recreate the new relationship, right? And it recreates a new relationship so that you could relate to them through the unconditional love and appreciation you had for them when they were alive, right? So even though you can't see them here, you could still feel them.
Yeah.
And then when that starts happening, to me, I mean, the signs that they're still around you are just abundant. I've had, I think I've had up to 25 dreams with my father since he passed. And a lot of those dreams happened after I started to let go of the weight of the emotional pain of the loss, and then allowed the new connection, the new relationship to form.
Truly, truly believe that.
Yeah, it was a game changer in in my sadness. And again, I had a lot of old sadness and old loss with him, and that's how my journey started when I was 6.
Yes.
Losing him, that time. So when he passed, it brought up some really old tears that I didn't get to the first time around.
Yeah.
There's always more layers to the game, or more levels to the game. And the moment is the master, and accepting what's happening in the moment is one of the big keys to working the stress is gone system. So some folks, when they're upset, they freak out that they're upset. And I never do. It's like, I'll just let it come out. If I'm driving and I haven't cried in 6 months, and tears come up, I just let it come up. And then usually within 30 seconds, it's gone. Might be a minute, sometimes it's 5 seconds.
Yeah,
but I'm available.
100% agree that it's usually over. You worry more about dealing with it. If you just deal with it, it's gone.
Right. And it's just being available, and I always say, you live it up until the stuff comes up, and then, then deal with it as it's coming up. But really, if you accept it, that's all it ever wanted anyway. It's this old trapped energy that wanted the acceptance and love. And then once you allow yourself to open up to that, the process starts to happen like that. And it's like lickety split, it just happens really fast. The healing process.
People are going to probably start calling you and going to your website to book these sessions with you, because they're like, all right, I want this gone. This guy makes it sound like it's so possible.
Yeah. So, and getting back to, what we were talking about earlier, it's, so I feel like some people identify with the pain. Some people don't think it's possible to let go of that level of pain. And I swear to God that the right amount of light always comes in. It never fails. The light never fails, ever. It always comes in, and it goes just below the pain, and it starts to just kind of enlighten and lock it and release it. And then it just starts to leave in these layers, and you actually feel the layers peeling off, like peeling of an onion. You feel until there's nothing left. And I'm so passionate about getting to that place with a person, with a client.
Yes.
Because now when you have that feeling, you own that feeling. You could access that feeling anytime you want. Yeah, it's one of the testimonials on my website. A woman wrote that it's like a touch tone that she can touch anytime. She has the ability now to go back to that special place where no pain exists.
That's so
So
beautiful. And through you, the one place that you probably avoided is now her special place.
yeah, so that's a great point. Often I'll say that in the heart of your fear is your ultimate freedom. So it's like that place that you've been running from the whole time. And that's where my whole journey was. I was running from certain things, but when I stopped and turned around and faced it and walked towards it, that's when everything opened up after that.
There's
So
mind killer. I'm telling you, this is
yeah,
remarkable.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you people can go to your website. They can. I'm sorry because I interrupted you, but I know you're talking about your website and they can sign up and do courses and speak to you. So what are the techniques? What is it? What's your magic?
So the magic is a mystery, and I'm still the intrigue that I have for the mystery is what keeps me going towards it every day. And it's what I love most about doing the sessions, the meditations, and the groups, right? There's some unexplainable thing that I'll never understand until I won't be living here when I understand it. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. So the first thing that I teach is stress stopper breath work, right? Simple 3-step process. When you first start using the technique, sometimes it takes like 2 minutes for the technique to just like unlock and release all the stress from your body because there's an ego battle. And you just can't believe it's that simple. Once you get past that, right, by just consistently sticking with the technique, eventually your ego loses, and then all of a sudden your body opens up and feels relief. Every cell on the planet wants to return to homeostasis when it's stressed, whether it's a plant, an animal, a human, cell in your body, it doesn't matter. We're all pre-programmed for survival, for stress, for fight or flight, some kind of protection mechanism, but we all desire to return to that state of calmness and clarity and homeostasis. So the ego battle, you'll win it as long as you stick with the technique. So the technique is this: anytime you're stressed out, you're upset, you find that your heart's pounding, it's your body sounding the alarm. You could use your mind as a stress signal, meaning like if you find yourself listening to the same thoughts, like, I got to get out of here. Why is this happening to me? Not again. I can't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Little light bulb should go off. Like, oh yeah, I'm just stressed again. If you feel upset and angry, or somebody triggers you, if, we got the holidays coming up, if your, Uncle Walter or whoever, it always triggers you, don't be surprised by stress, expect it. Now I'm going to give you a little game plan to handle it. So anytime you feel that tension, I want you to use your hand and touch the tension in your body. For me, it's my heart area. So the first step is touching the tension. The next step is breathing deep and slow. And the third step in stress stopper breath work is once per breath, silently saying the words, I'm okay, right? So you're touching the tension, breathing deep and slow, and silently saying the words, I'm okay. And it's a very slow pace because you're only saying it once per breath. Often people will, use mantras and say them really fast, and that can create more anxiety. So if you're stressed out and you're going, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, you're not okay.
No.
Your mind's not going to think it's okay. You're not going to, get your body to relax because of your tone and the cadence of your mantra. So when you touch the tension, you're actually using the calm cells in your hand to embrace the tense cells in your body. Now, the tension in your body is where all the original memories that are fueling this stress reaction live. So you're actually touching that library of experience that's in your body, that's stored away subconsciously and unconsciously. You're embracing it. And when you make that touch connection, there's a transference where the stress cells, remember, they want to return to homeostasis, and they touch your calm cells. That transference happens, and then the homeostasis starts to happen on the physical level. Now, when you're breathing deep and slow, now you're bringing the life force that's in the airflow to those 10 cells. So now just imagine your cells in your body. They're all freaking out, right? Your individual cells. They're upset about survival. They are programmed with the logic, I got to run or fight to stay alive. They're bugging out. Now they get touched by calm cells. Okay. Now they're getting the life force that they need to survive. And now the icing on the cake is they get to hear, I'm okay once per breath, that calm, slow mantra. So at some point, the cell's going to be like, why the heck am I freaking out? I got all the energy I need. I got the oxygen, the life force I need. I'm connected. And the positive thought is just further breaking down the fight or flight reaction.
Power of the mind.
Yeah. So you're aligning your mind, your body, and your breath to combat stress. And it's like a 1, 2, 3 punch that knocks it out. Now, it's just like working out at the gym, the muscle memory you get from using this technique within a month or so, you'll be able to feel the stress happening. You'll feel the stress chemicals really early, and then you'll start doing the technique immediately. And usually within 5 to 10 seconds, your stress is gone, right? And that's, again, where the name of the company comes from, because you learn this technique that you can master to really let go of stress just like that. So that's really the purpose of that technique, to empower the person using it.
And you would think, okay, so I have to touch where I'm stressed, breathe slowly, and say, I'm okay. Those 3 steps any human being can do.
Right.
But when you're shown how to do them in a point in your life where you're really stressed, those 3 very, very simple steps could be life-saving. And everybody has this ability. This is Absolutely. And you just showed it.
Yeah. And there's many different applications. Like, you could use this technique in your meditation practice. If you're having trouble going to sleep at night, you could lay down on your back and put one hand on your heart, the other hand on your belly button, which is very grounding for your body. And then just slowly do the breath work. Within 5 minutes, you're out. Folks that have had sleep disorders for decades call me the day after using that technique the first time. They're like, I cannot believe how quick I fell asleep. I'm like, yeah, just keep on using it, practice it. And I said, if you wake up in the middle of the night, just use a technique, to go right back asleep without turning the TV on, getting up, turning the light on. Don't do that. Just use the technique to go right back to sleep, and it works. It's a very powerful technique. If you have phobias, you can sit, close your eyes, imagine the situation of your phobia, see yourself in the situation, and start doing the breath work. Use stress upper breath work and see yourself using it in your mind in that situation. So now you're deprogramming the phobia in your mind and in your body. So I've had people that were afraid to drive over bridges that had panic attacks. I walked them through that once, walked them through the visualization once, and now they drive over bridges, no problem. And, it's part of the brainwave entrainment piece to all this.
Which was, I was going to ask you. So you were talking, okay, people have phobias, people have stress at work, some people can't sleep. There's a lot of different kinds of stress. There's lots of different kinds of trauma, whether it be the PTSD or there's just trauma by being told they have to be perfect all the time is trauma.
Right. Absolutely.
Are these techniques crossover, like the breathing one you just did? Is this something that anybody can do, or is there certain techniques that gear more towards certain stress levels? Or classes?
You could teach that technique to a 3-year-old. Yeah.
And you could use it across the board.
Yeah. So there was this thing we used to do before my son could even speak. So it was called Sync Your Chi, right? And you just breathe, take a deep breath in, go like that, and exhale. So like when he would be upset, I have this perfect memory. He's like throwing food at his high chair and he's, flipping out. I mean, it's funny to go. I wish I could go back just for one day because he's 16 now. So he's, and we would just say, sync your chi, and he would be upset. And then he'd be like,
oh.
And then we would say one more time, and he would do it. And then he would be calmed down. You know what I mean? It was so, these techniques, you could do, with anybody. At any time. Okay. And yeah. And, I teach parents how to do that with their young kids in bed, kids that are having trouble going to sleep. They're afraid to go to sleep in their own bed or, whatever it is, you just lay next to them, hold their hand. And then you do the technique together, and it's very bonding.
Yes, I can imagine. That's a cool, because there's a lot of trust there. So that's a closeness. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very bonding. And then it creates also, because you could taper it back. So like you could start doing it with your child, for a few weeks, sitting, laying next to them. Then you could sit next to them. Then you could do it from the door. You know what I mean? Then you could just remind them, do it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a self-empowering, kind of
Just so they're
experience.
able to do it all on
Yeah.
their own.
Yeah.
Which will make them better kids, better students, but just better, because that's these techniques, and I'm in your age bracket, they weren't
Mhm.
around. You know,
Right.
the breathing, the breath. I mean, I don't care. I have interviewed so many people that are in one way or another in self empowerment, and everybody, 100%, it's breath work starting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the main
I
starting
was
point
never
to
taught
give,
that.
right. To give your body the cells, to give your cells the oxygen and life force it needs to operate. Um, and, you know, what we're really doing here with stressed out for breath work, with touching the tension, breathing deep and slow, once per breath, silently saying, I'm okay. You're Jedi mind tricking your body to relax. Okay. Now, I do this work in crisis intervention and, after Hurricane Sandy and warming tents with hundreds of people, and they're not okay. The situation's not okay on the outside. However, stress, it activates 1,400 reactions in our body, right? A lot of these cause a slew of diseases, right? So do you want to be able to turn that off on the inside and clear your mind? And I always say, like, doing this doesn't make that outer stress go away immediately, but at least it clears your mind so that you could tune in to kind of like access your highest faculties to get to the right solution. So this just calms the body, clears the mind, so you could access your own divine wisdom and guidance to get through whatever is before you. And I always felt in going through the toughest points in my life, as an adult, after getting into this work,
Mhm.
that's where I would access a whole new level of solutions that I never would have thought about or even come close to thinking about if I'm overwhelmed with the stressful thoughts.
It's debilitating.
Yeah.
When you're stressed, you can't make a clear decision. You're basing any decision off an emotion that is just racing through your body. Your body's trying to defend itself, getting ready for, like you said, the fight or flight. It goes back to that saber-toothed tiger thing. And your train of thought, your logic is not there. Your body is telling you you need to be saved right now. So trying to get into that, and when your body is telling yourself you need to be saved right now, it's protecting its heart, it's taking sugar levels, it's taking even your digestive system, and it's all reworking it to save what it thinks needs saving, which also throws everything else in your body. If you get diabetes, all this stuff, because your sugar changes, your production changes. It's incredible what stress can do to you and how your body is naturally going to react to it. But now we're not in caves anymore. We have
Right.
people like you to teach us how to the breath work and the mind training and the deepness that you have to go to not go into that stress level, which then reduces all of those underlying illnesses and diseases that can be started. So you're kind of like a miracle worker, not just stress is gone guy.
Here's the thing. I love the stress is gone guy. That's hilarious. So like, um, the mystery is the house of all the miracles, right? So I feel like what we do when I'm working with a client or a group, and what I've done a gazillion times, because it's like, a daily practice, right? It opens up space for that miracle energy to happen. All this does is open up space. So when I think of myself, I'm just a conduit, just like someone that's like an electrician flipping lights on. I just reconnect the person. I show them where the light switch is, and then it's up to them to just keep on flipping it on. And then it's your own personal decision of how much light you want to let in, right?
Yeah, everybody heals at a different rate.
Right. And I have an addictive personality, so it's like I got addicted to this stuff because it's like the fact that you could feel and experience these levels of relief naturally, to me, just blew me away. And it's like so palpable, so real. And at times it's visceral. You feel things leaving your organs. You feel tension leaving, like you feel your heart opening. So it's like very, it's so real. You know what I mean?
And it's just it's a happy feeling. And who doesn't want to be embraced by the happiness you create inside, you would, I would be addicted, who wouldn't be addicted, that overjoy, that happiness that you keep doing over and over and over. Come on, that's awesome.
It is. And I freaking love it. You know what I mean? And again, I got into this from doing a session in 1999 that blew me away. And then, from that moment, I was like, I could do this. And then I started letting that idea germinate, and like, I'm meant to do this. And then it's like the ideas of what I want it to be. And, it's 22 years later. And then I just kept on, chasing it. Some days I accomplished more than others. Some days I didn't do anything with it, but then the next day I would do twice as much. And I just always been on the path.
Yeah.
And then 22 years later was, at Omega, and also at the New York Open Center this past year, do my first class there. And I always wanted to teach there. And like, doors are, opening now.
I was going to say, you're achieving goals as you're achieving goals.
Yeah. It's like this thing is just happening. And I just want people to have that same satisfaction and to feel gratified, on the inside, and feel reconnected.
And now there's pandemic stress, a word that I don't even like saying, but it is what it is. You can't deny it. And again, is this the things that you're doing and the things that you're talking about can be used for this as well? Or does this affect your body differently?
The pandemic, I felt, was just like taking stress and just timesing it by 10. You know what I mean? It was just because the fear of the unknown is a very big driver for many of us, right?
Anxiety,
yeah. The fear of the unknown, and the pandemic brought about so many levels of the unknown throughout different phases in the pandemic, and still now. But I feel like at some point, some of us, or at least for myself, was like, okay, enough's enough already. Not enough's enough, but like, I don't need to allow myself to feel all that. I'm getting more comfortable with the unknown. And the pandemic brings a lot of it up. And the pandemic, if you use this work throughout the pandemic, it's actually very freeing, because it's cleansing your body of all these old stress patterns and heavy stress emotions, and cleansing your mind to navigate even more clearly throughout the environment in this new changing world that we're in. So it's kind of like, would you want to cleanse your DNA to navigate the new environment, the new reality that we're entering into? Or do you want to walk around with all that heavy stress and try and navigate with all that baggage on you? I feel like our best shot at the new environment is to be light, nimble, and flexible. And this work definitely, does that for your body, mind, and soul.
Yeah. So you get, it's almost like a BOGO. You're using these techniques to handle your pandemic stress, but it's going to release a lot of stuff that you didn't even know. So you're going to be even better because of it. So
yeah,
I say go for it.
Yeah, no, me too. And that was, coming out of the Omega retreat, that was like, I feel like everybody in there just had, and still has, such a renewed zest and zeal for life, and just experience and engaging in what this field, has to offer,
Because who doesn't want to refeel those moments of clarity and lifting that weight off, the dark cloud, the scary things, the bad memories, whatever you would like to call it. That's I would imagine people come back over and over and just relive that.
So the meditations is where we maintain it, right? And the one-on-one sessions and the group work is where we get through the meat and potatoes of, the granular work that we have to do to let go of, a lot of the tension that's in the cellular memories, Yeah. And that's like the gearing and workings subconsciously that fuel our reactions out there in the environment with, our spouses, our kids, our employers, out there randomly on the street, whatever triggers us, that's the fuel for all the gearing for all of our reactions. So when you address the fuel and you kind of pull the plug on it, you're just much less stressed as you're going through your life.
Yeah, because stress, like you said earlier, it's not going to go away. It's going to, no matter how much you do these exercises and use these programs, different things are still thrown at you. So you just learn how to, combat it. Life force is better.
It's levels of the game, right? So right now we're at a certain level, you kind of like it, just like playing a video game. And then you master that, you get to the next level. There's different triggers, but it's the same core competencies, the same ability to say, your light bulb, have it go off in the back of your mind. Okay, I'm just stressed again. You're always being aware of, being aware of your body, being aware of your breath, and then using the techniques to just go in and let it go. And let it, like when it comes up, that's the process.
It sounds beautiful. And there's one thing that and I wanted to go back to because I'm really, really interested in this. And we said it earlier, the brainwave entrainment.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
So that's just what happens when your brainwave frequencies synchronize with a rhythm, right? And a cadence. So have you ever been to a concert that you really liked? Mm-hmm. What happens when your favorite song comes on the radio, right? You're starting to bob your head to the rhythm, right? And you have the hook, you're singing the hook. That's my best analogy for brainwave entrainment. Okay. Now, with stress relief, the I'm okay mantra, when you're doing that once per breath, there's a brainwave entrainment
I see.
opportunity here that happens there when you stick with it. So I said, when you're battling the ego when you first start, and you're like, oh, this is stupid, this isn't going to work. You let all those ego thoughts come up, right? Because your ego and your cells, we're creatures of habit. They want to keep you exactly where you're at, right? They don't want any change. Change is scary for our ego.
Everybody's doing their job.
Yes. They want to keep you propped up exactly how you are, good, bad, and whatever's in the middle. So what we're doing with Stress Stopper breath work is we're embracing the bad with our breath, or not the bad, but those tension, the tense feelings, and we're, letting them go with the breath. So brainwave entrainment is just the process where your brain waves over time of using the mantra synchronize with the mantra and synchronize with that rhythm of relief. So your brain starts to support what you're thinking and how you're breathing. So now it's adjusting different hormone levels, chemicals, different reactions to bring about the relaxation response.
Okay.
Yeah, so the relaxation response is like the opposite of our fight or flight reaction. Yes. The relaxation response has its own, levels of, serotonin, dopamine, all these different things that bring about deep states of relaxation.
Now this makes sense, because when you were saying the brainwave entrainment and to coordinate it with the fight or flight, I was like, that's kind of like oil and water, and like having, now I get it. Okay.
So it's like we hold the stress right here, we don't run from it, and then we bring in stress stopper breath work, and now we're pulsing that, right? And remember, every cell wants to return to homeostasis. So the stress stopper breath work wins, because no matter what, our body wants to return to that calm state. So it's just teaching ourselves how to get there. Faster. Yes, teaching ourselves the shortcut.
Yeah, there you go. U-turn.
Yes, exactly.
Recalculating.
Yes.
You have a workbook.
Yeah.
So you have an app, you have a website where people can go on and sign with you, I'll link everybody up to all of this. You have now a workbook that has a lot of different techniques and activities, correct?
Yeah, so the workbook that I wrote for veterans, and I published it in 2015, it's called The 3 Keys to Managing PTSD, The Warrior's Guide to Overcoming Combat Trauma. And the first key is learn how to stop a stress reaction. The second key is process the trauma. And the third key is meditate every day. And the workbook brings the reader through all those 3 phases for a year. And it gives them a daily practice for each one. And it's really an amazing piece of work. It's very easy to read. Very proud of it that I was able to crank it out of my brain, right? I feel like I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but this is an amazing piece of work. It is truly incredible. And, it helps everybody that reads it. I mean, if you read the first 3 pages, you're already going to know more about stress than you ever have in your whole entire life in the first 3 pages. So I really encourage.
Stress itself actually was kind of like DNA. It was discovered on accident, on hormone changes. I think it was in Montreal. A doctor in Montreal was doing hormone change research on rats, and he was a doctor. He's an endocrinologist, maybe, and the rats were dying but they weren't dying due to anything that had to do with these hormone changes. And then he, in their cells, he started seeing the same thing in his patients that were getting sick. And he realized, wait a second, rats, mice, I'm not even sure how to back it up, so don't quote me. But he started realizing it wasn't the hormone research that was killing them. They were so stressed out from the research being done on them. That's what was killing them. And that's how they discovered stress.
That's amazing. So the guy's name is Hans, and I forgot his last name. It's like Ziegler or something like that.
Yes,
And
yes, that's it.
I think that's his last name. And so he was the founder of the term stress.
Yes.
There's the guy that heads up the American Institute of Stress, Dr. Kirshner. So yeah, that's the first certification that I got. So he actually worked with the guy who founded the term stress. Yeah. And then he certified stress opera breath work after I presented research to support each of those steps. So
you learn from, you know what you're doing. You learn from the person who knows exactly what this is.
Yeah. And the original scientist that had discovered the term has since passed. But it's our fight or flight. And actually, the funny thing is, the fight or flight itself is designed to bring us back to homeostasis. Its purpose is to help us survive itself. And now it's, killing us, left and right. It's, stress is the leading cause of heart attacks, heart disease, and heart disease is still the number one cause of death in our country. So stress is the number one proxy killer in our country, if not our world.
Yeah.
So it's just living in the modern world with this old antiquated survival system that is no longer relevant to us is now killing us. And I feel like stress is gone is just the upgrade that we need.
That's a perfect way to put it, because the core of who we are, everything that goes on in our bodies, our ability to heal, the way it reacts to anything going on in our lives, that has not changed since we first started roaming the earth.
Right.
But everything else around us has, and our body is reacting to the guy who flipped you off on the road the same way it reacted to the saber-toothed tiger running into your cave.
Right.
And we, through Stress is Gone, it's a beautiful way that you said that. We now have the upgraded technology to learn how to do what our body does so well, but have it do it better for us and not make us sick, because most people don't have any idea how amazing our internal system is. It's incredible. But now that we have this ability through you to channel it and use it with the strengths that we actually have, just think how much healthier the world could be.
There's no limit. It's completely limitless. When you start to let go of your core fears, when we start to let go of our core fears that are lodged in our cells, in our cellular memory, in our DNA, and we start to let go of those things, and we could really just operate from inspiration, passion, compassion. That's, to me, that's heaven on earth.
I was going to say, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, right. To me, that's heaven on earth. It's going from need, greed, and stress to compassion, inspiration, and operating from a place of pure passion, and bringing our gifts out to the planet.
So you have the PTSD book. Is there a workbook for, people like me?
I'm working on that right now, working on that workbook. And it's going to be written for anybody and everybody, no specific target market, right? It's going to have all of the core, most important concepts I feel to let go of stress, anxiety, and depression. And it's all natural. Yeah, it's all natural. And I feel it's going to be an ultra empowering piece once it's done. And that's what I'm working on now. And I'm also working on the meditation membership part of the website and the mobile app. Since the pandemic started, I recorded close to 200 meditations through the meditation class that I do. Mm-hmm. And now it's just a matter of formatting that into a library so people can just go in and, scroll through and do the one they want to do that day.
I'm so excited. When do you think these what next things, when are you expecting supposed to be out, the book, the app?
Great question. So the Stress Is Gone app is out now. That'll be upgraded. The My Meds tab is connected to our YouTube page, the Stress Is Gone YouTube page. So you can go there now and go to the meditations playlist. I think we have about 15 up there now to get a taste of what this is about. The meditations are between 18 minutes and 30 minutes. And yeah, I encourage anybody and everybody to go check out a meditation, put in your earbuds and just lay down, put one hand on your heart and the hand on your belly button, and just go on this gentle roller coaster ride. Most of them start with the airflow coming in through the nose, clearing your mind, going down into the heart. And then we go through the heart and open up. And then the kind of roller coaster ride, that gentle roller coaster ride, just goes to the universe and just brings in a lot of light and love. And it is, it's really an amazing experience. And then at the end of the meditation, I leave breadcrumbs to help you get back to that, your favorite moment. So like you could access those feelings when you're in your everyday life pretty quickly. So,
and the workbook.
So the workbook I'm actually working on now, I've got the first third of it done. I'm hoping in the next 3 months that'll be complete and finished and on Amazon as well. The 3 keys to managing PTSD is selling on Amazon right now. It's been selling there for like the last 6 years.
And for everybody watching and listening, I promise I will make sure that everything Brett talked about, every meditation, every practice, where he is, where you could find him, where he's going to be, books or workbooks that are going to be coming out, apps. I mean, there was a lot mentioned today.
Yeah.
I promise in the show notes below this video, below this episode, you will be able to find all things Stress Is Gone and Brett Cotter related will be linked up under there. I will get you connected as quickly and easy as possible. Brett, what you are bringing to the world and which will only be, it'll be the gift that just keeps on giving, is remarkable. I am going to be a huge follower. And again, I'm gonna have the app. When the workbook comes out, I'm getting it. I'm gonna go to your website. I'm gonna do everything because I want to feel that. And I am just so fortunate that I was able to connect with you on LinkedIn, talk with you, really realize that this is pretty incredible. Have you come on the podcast, have you come on Shannon Confidential, tell your story. It's so relatable. Explain what you do and all the different ways that you're doing it now and will continue to do it. I can't be more thankful. Thank you.
Thank you enough. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share, my story, these tools. That's what I feel I'm alive for, to share this information. So having the outlets to do so is priceless for me personally. So I can't thank you enough. And if anyone's, out there right now thinking what's the best way to take the first step, I just think brettcotter.com, BRETTCOTTER.com is the best way. And there's a little free mini course there. It says break free from your anxiety. You just press the button, put in your email, and then you get 3 videos, you get 3 meditations, and I give you the anxiety relief technique. You already know the stress stopper breathwork technique. That's also in the free mini course. And then the app is in there as well. So it's kind of like a neat little bundle that you get via email after you put your email in there. And then if you're on Facebook, the Release Stress Now with Brett Cotter Facebook group. It's a private group. I teach in there, I post the meditations in there, and you could access our weekly meditation class for free. And that's live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Usually goes for about 25 minutes to a half hour.
That's great. I think the holidays are coming up, people. Just send your family and friends these links. Happy holidays.
That's awesome. The people in your family that stress you out enough, make sure you send it to them.
Send it to them first.
Yeah, and then you could do it, and then you have something to talk about.
Then everybody's happy.
Relaxing.
Won't holiday dinners be happier?
That's hilarious.
Well, Brett, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for being on Shannon Confidential. Thank you so much for sharing your passion with the world, make it a better place. Every click. I'm gonna hop on and take a look at all this and start as soon as I'm done editing everything.
Awesome. This was so fun. You're a great host. Thank you so much. And a great interviewer. And it was really a pleasure, being here with you. It was awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And you have a lovely Thanksgiving.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your audience. And I hope to see everyone soon.
Thank you.